So for those of you who watched yesterday's episode, you will know that while I was out riding, we had a little bit of trouble with the front brake caliper. It decided that it was going to go on a bit of a diet and shed some weight. And there's two bolts that hold the caliper onto the fork and the disc, and one of them fell out completely. Couldn't find that one, and the other one was on its way out. It was so loose that I could shake the caliper. But what I did forget to do yesterday was go to another shop and pick up some thread locker, because I'm gonna, over these next few days, I'm gonna go and take all the bolts that I would consider to be sort of vital bolts. I'm gonna take them out, clean them, and put them all back in with new thread locker, because I don't want this happening again. It could have gone a very different way had I not spotted it and pulled over when I did. If I'd have carried on riding, not noticed it, the whole caliper would have ended up either coming off, leaving me with no front brake. And on a bike like this, you really do need your front brake. Your rear brake's not really strong enough for a bike of this sort of power or this weight. Or the caliper would have ended up jamming between the disc and the fork, and could have caused a really bad accident. So really glad that I caught that when I did. And it was pretty instant, because the way that I could tell that something wasn't right, and you see it in the video, is you can just hear a click noise when I put my hand on the front brake, and that sound hadn't been there up until that very point. But who's to know? That screw could have come out a day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and that bottom bolt, the one that was just starting to get loose, was no longer actually doing its bit, doing its work. All in all though, just very glad that I spotted it when I did, because it could have been bad. But on the way, I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about motorbike tests. And I know there's loads of videos on YouTube already, especially those that I've seen in the UK in regards to motorbike tests and training. But I just wanted to give you my story and what happened, and kind of try and calm you down if you're currently thinking about it or going through the process of getting your full bike license. So I did 3.5 days of training with a professional motorcycle training school here in Devon. Incredible company, love the way that they work. All of the instructors and trainers were absolutely brilliant. They're called MTS Rider Training, and they're based in Exeter. Fantastic company. Business owner Chris, brilliant guy. He went above and beyond to get me in for my second test. There was a huge waiting list and he managed to squeeze me in. My trainer over the 3.5 days was Malcolm, and he's just such a funny guy. And he you know, when you get those people they definitely know how to ride, he's one of them. Sorry, I did 3.5 days of training. The reason it was 3.5 is because the tests were on the 4th day, and we did some training on that day as well. So what happens is you go into a controlled environment when you're training. They put all the cones out, and you're going to train for your mod 1. Now here in the UK you have to do 2 different modules. You have to do your module 1, which is controlled motorcycle exercises. That's slow maneuvers, fast maneuvers, all in a controlled environment. That includes figure of eights, U-turns, very similar to that of the US. Then you have to go through speed traps and swerves. All you're doing is essentially demonstrating to the examiner that you are in complete control of that motorcycle and that they can trust you enough to pass you and get you through to the module 2, which is out on the highway, out on the roads, dual carriageways, etc. So I passed the module 1, no minors, no faults, nothing, absolutely perfect. Later that day, I had my module 2 booked in, so it's quite a lot of pressure, and I'm still not sure whether or not I feel great about having both the module 1 and the module 2 on the same day. If you are confident and you've been riding for a long time and you don't have to think about your riding and you're basically done with your training after day 1, then yeah, it's probably great. But for someone like myself, I was a little bit nervous, I was doubting myself, and maybe it was the pressure that got to me, made me freeze up on my module 2. Anyway, passed the module 1 in the morning, module 2 in the afternoon. So we went back out onto the road, did some last minute module 2 training, some independent riding, and when it came to the module 2, the examiner comes out and they follow you, so you are leading the way, and they have an intercom system that they plug you into, and they tell you what they want you to go, where they want you to go, what they want you to do. And everything, in my opinion, was going great up until we got onto the highway, the dual carriageway. And what happened was, here in the UK, a dual carriageway, typically, traditionally speaking, you have 2 lanes, sometimes 3, on either side of the road. And I was in this lane, so if this is lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, I was in this lane doing approximately 60 miles per hour, and he asked me to move over because we were taking the turning, or the split, to a different part. We were going on a different road, so I had to move over from lane 1 over to lane 3, because this is now it's split into a 4-lane dual carriageway, and I had to move from lane 1 to lane 3. Now I'm already full of nerves, I'm already anxious, I think I failed already. Everyone thinks that, by the way. And I make it, I do make it into lane 3, but as I've done so, I've ended up behind a HGV lorry, and this lorry is going so slow that I can't find a space to get out into lane 4 to overtake him. And the reason I can't find a space is, 1, I'm nervous, right? So I'm second guessing everything. How far away is that car in lane 4? Can I get out without cutting him up? And will the the examiner fail me for that? But not only that, it's smashing it down with rain. This is the UK, and it was raining, and not just a little bit of British rain. This was proper sort of storm rain. So I'm soaking wet, my visor is all covered in water, the mirrors on the bike have got raindrops all over them, so I can't make out with my mirrors where anything is. I'm doing me lifesavers, trying to find a spot. In the end, I do manage to overtake, but it took a good mile before I built up the confidence to overtake. And that is what he failed me on. Lack of forward planning. Because I guess I can see his point, but I still don't think it's a major fail, like a major fault. Because I didn't put anyone in danger. I didn't lose control of the bike. Yes, I was going slow on a highway, but I did not feel comfortable enough to overtake that HGV without being 100% certain that I knew what was behind me, what was to the side of me, and how much space I had in order to execute that maneuver. Now, the problem though is that because the examiner is behind and they're in their beautiful, you know, touring motorbikes, BMW touring bikes, with a visor that comes up to here, and they're really in a comfortable position with their heated grips and their £1,000 worth of waterproof equipment. For them, it's really easy to kind of, like I am now, to sit up and look like this. Whereas I was riding an ER6, Kawasaki ER6 or Suzuki ER6, I can't remember. It was an ER6 and I'd never ridden that position before, only on the days of training, and I wasn't used to it and I didn't feel comfortable. So yeah, ultimately I failed on the first test, and it broke me. It did break me because I put so much pressure on myself. I'd bought this bike 8 weeks before and got it running, and every day when I would open the garage it would stare at me kind of like, are we going out today? And no, we're not going out today. And I had to say that again on test day. I was so excited. I said, I'm going to pass this, but at the same I was like, yes, I've got to pass this because I've got the bike, and if I've got the bike I've got to ride it. If I don't ride it, I'm going to have to sell it. And you put all this pressure on yourself, which is what I did, and ultimately I failed, and I had to then wait again for my retest, but I passed the second time. Flying colours on the second test. I had two minors. One was I took a corner a little bit wide, and the second was my speed crept up ever so slightly at one point, but nothing that the examiner thought was serious. And now I'm on the bike, so I'm made whole again by being on the bike, and it is totally worth it. You just got to keep your head, don't do anything stupid, be confident but be smart. If there's a gap, take it, just don't break the speed limit. This is on test I'm talking about. You know, don't do anything stupid, but don't be too conservative either. Don't be like, you know, it's a 40 mile an hour speed limit and you're doing 29 and there's nothing else on the roads. The examiner is going to want to see that you've got a bit of confidence and that you can get up to speed and hold it there and take the corners smoothly and nicely, and not fiddling with all your controls and thinking, oh, do I need to downshift and do I need to brake on every, oh no, you know, just chill and relax. And that's exactly what I did on the second test. I had a bit more confidence, I overtook people when I could, I hit the speed limit pretty much all the time, and in fact I went over a little bit at one point. So all I'm trying to say is, if you are going in for a motorcycle test or even a car test, a car license test, be confident but be safe.